Whether we believe in our capacity for self-government or whether we abandon the American Revolution and confess that a little intellectual elite in a far distant capital can plan our lives for us better than we can plan them ourselves. You and I are told increasingly we have to choose between a left or right. Well, I'd like to suggest there is no such thing as a left or right. There's only an up or down.
It's just that simple. Watch One American News. All right, welcome back, everybody. We're in the middle of our grassroots citizen panel, and just before the break, I was talking about the fact that we're watching the militarization of our police forces. It was the right who, for a couple of years, have been warning Americans about the militarization of police forces, warning about the rise of the caliphate. Those of us doing so were called extremists, radicals. They're out on the fringe. As I said, I spoke at a rally a couple years ago, Tea Party rally, and there was a weapon there used by the San Diego County Sheriff's Department, a crowd control weapon that had been used on the battlefield in Iraq, which with a flip of a switch could burst your eardrums. And now all of a sudden, Steve Simpson, the libertarians in America, plus Al Sharpton, are getting outraged over the militarization of America's police forces. What's taken America so long?
Well, I don't think they've seen it. They haven't really seen the problem. And what this is like the old saw about the frog who's, in the pot of water, and as it heats up, he doesn't even know he's being boiled to death. So government gets bigger and bigger and bigger. All of a sudden, we turn around, and the Postal Service has a police force, the Park Police. I mean, every federal agency you can imagine, they have their own police forces. And our local cops now are becoming more and more militarized, more like SWAT.
How do we fight it?
Well, we have to shrink the size of government, and we have to make clear that that the whole purpose of government is to protect individuals. Individuals create the government. The government doesn't grant us our rights. One of the real tragedies of this is that when the government does have a job to do, which it does definitely have a good job to do in Ferguson, people's houses and businesses are being looted. Because people are so opposed to this militarization, the police recoil, and then you have, crime running rampant. So there's an irony in it.
Dean Arthur, criminal defense attorney, this trend of the militarization of the police force began under George W. Bush. It has continued without any bump in the road under Democratic President Barack Hussein Obama. Do you agree with Steve Simpson? The reason people are just now beginning to wake up to it is because they weren't aware of it.
I think also we're in an age of social media. So social media is now bringing everybody's attention. They are using iPhones there was the tear gas. They're publicizing that now all on YouTube. Now we're forced to have to address this issue. We could sweep it under the rug before. Now we have to. And I think that's making a difference now in 2014.
Michael Hausum, care to weigh in on this? One final comment on this?
Yeah, it's very clear. The more the individual is a nothing and the bigger the government is, we're essentially wards of the state or contributors to it. But the reality is the government that's big enough to give you what you want also might have to kick your ass.
It's big enough to do that.
Right. Oh, yeah.
All right. Well, again, I just want to say that those of us on the right have been warning citizens about this, and we were called extremists. But now it's mainstream. All right, so Governor Rick Perry of Texas has been indicted, and it looks like it's all politics. So there was a district attorney in Texas, a woman, Lemberg was her name, Rosemary Lemberg, district attorney for Travis County. She was drunk and got sent to jail, and Rick Perry threatened to stop the funding of projects under her jurisdiction if she does step down. And now he's been indicted, Steve Simpson.
Well, the argument is completely nuts. I mean, she's claiming that he's somehow abused his office, or he's abused, he's abused property and money within his care. All he did was what is entirely appropriate in the circumstance. You could criticize his use of the veto or his threat of the veto. Maybe it was the wrong thing for him to do, but it's not a violation of law. I mean, this is pure politics masked as law enforcement.
Dean Arthur, you mentioned social media, the rise of social media earlier. When I read this story about Rick Perry being indicted, it's all politics here. I agree with Steve Simpson. He did nothing out of the ordinary. I mean, this woman was in a drunk. We saw the video earlier. She's in a drunk tank. Right. It made me wonder how many of these stories have gone on through history, and we just didn't realize that without the transparency of all the choices of media which we have today.
I know. I'm thinking that her inebriation is what caused her to not realize that this story, she kept saying, my career is going to be ruined tomorrow, but did she not realize that this video is going to go viral? That her bad behavior is going to now be on the internet. Not just your career. We are all going to be analyzing this video as it comes down to it. But I also agree that indictment is not the way to go. Him exercising his power to veto is not appropriate. Indictments can be done very easily. You know the saying, you can indict a ham sandwich, because they don't have the other side. It's just that side presenting their case. But I don't think that this is going to survive.
Michael Haslam, I agree with Dean Arthur in that she should have known better about this video. You write for the Independent Journal Review, one of the leading political news sites online. What do you read? Anything? Is there a connection between the number of online social media choices that people have today and stories like this coming out?
Well, certainly. It's despite what the Obama administration might want to do, things are very, very transparent, and there's a forum for people literally in the grassroots to have a discussion.
Except the mainstream media.
Except the mainstream media.
And I got to cut you off rudely, like I cut him off rudely in an earlier segment. All right, that's it. I want to thank our Grassroots Citizen Panel members: Dean Arthur, criminal defense attorney. Thank you.
Thank you. Steve
Simpson, director of legal studies for the Ayn Rand Institute, and columnist, entrepreneur, and commentator, writer with the Independent Journal Review, Michael Haslam. Thanks for being part of our panel.
Thanks, I appreciate it very much.
And I want to thank you, our viewers, for watching. We are right back at you again tomorrow night, same time, 10 o'clock Eastern, 7 o'clock Pacific.